All right. All right, so I'm gonna give you host back.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good to go. Thanks so much, Mel.
All right, you're welcome.
For those of you who've got here early, we will begin at the top of the hour. Make yourself comfortable, grab a beverage, and we will see you then. Welcome, everyone. I'm showing about 10 minutes until the top of the hour. Thanks for getting here early, getting a good seat. We look forward to starting our story in about 10 minutes. But until then, please feel free to use the chat to talk with your colleagues, and we will get started in about 10 minutes. Thank you. We'll begin at the top of the hour. I am showing that it's 12:55 Pacific time. Just a couple of housekeeping items. To open your chat window, click on the bottom toolbar at the lower end of your screen, and that chat icon will launch the chat. We do encourage you at this time to say hello and chat with other participants while we're waiting to begin. And be sure your chat is set to everyone so we can all see what you're saying. As a quick announcement, as indicated in the registration for this gathering, by attending the Zoom webinar, you acknowledge that this session will be recorded and may be used for future UAGC presentations. Welcome. Grab a cup of tea, water, or your beverage of choice, and our story will begin soon.
Hey, Lauren.
Hello, Jackie.
Hello, everyone. Before we begin, as indicated in the registration for this gathering, by attending the Zoom webinar, you acknowledge that this session will be recorded and may be used for future UAGC presentations. Welcome. We know you have many choices when selecting your professional development activities, and there are some amazing opportunities here at UAGC and beyond. We're happy that you chose to be here today as the University of Arizona Global Campus Department of Education and Liberal Arts proudly presents to you Ed Talks. I'm Dr. Jessie Upshaw, and I'm honored to lead the Professional Development Committee of the Department of Education and Liberal Arts here in the UAGC College of Arts and Sciences. I'll be your host this afternoon. Today, we embark on the second session of our 9th annual Ed Talk series. For those of you that are new to Ed Talks, this is not your traditional professional development webinar. Ed Talks are fashioned after TED Talks, the ever-popular way of sharing concepts through personal storytelling. While many, if not all, of the personal stories of our Ed Talkers throughout these years tend to bring forward emotions, as we sometimes laugh, smile, cry, or feel our empathy in a strong way, for this session, we do want to let you know that the story you're about to listen to includes sensitive content that some individuals may find difficult to listen to. Our 2023 Ed Talk series is entitled Sowing Seeds, which is inspired by the work of our UAGC faculty leader, Dr. Newton Miller II. This year's series introduces sowing and growing seeds as a metaphor for better understanding the relationship between learner and educator, or seed and sower. Each session examines principles through this lens to develop the mindset aimed at maximizing potential and promoting growth and achievement for learners in the online higher education environment. Dr. Lauren Gonzalez is here to explore and extend our journey of sowing seeds with her interpretive story of considering setting high expectations while scaffolding to support success and meeting students where they are with the right tools. As you listen to Lauren's story, you might listen for your call to action to share your practices that promote growth and support potential in your classroom and your interactions with your students and colleagues. Or perhaps you will find a new practice that her story or our discussion sparks for you. Lauren, thanks for coming on camera. Can you say hello as I introduce you?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today.
We're so glad to have you here. I would like to take a moment to formally introduce you to Dr. Lauren Gonzalez, if you don't know her already. She is an assistant professor for the Bachelor of Arts in Early Childhood Education program. She holds a doctorate of early education from the University of North Texas. Lauren brings many years of experience to her Ed Talk today, having taught in Texas public schools for nearly a decade before moving to higher education. She's excited to work with those who have a keen interest for early childhood education and child development. She's committed to helping those individuals who have a passion for working with young children. Dr. Gonzalez currently lives in North Texas and enjoys spending time with her family. She's married to her high school sweetheart, and together they have 3 sons. Thanks so much for being here today, Dr. Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Lauren, now I'm going to ask that we remove our videos so we can get started after a few brief reminders. As a reminder, Ed Talks are fashioned after TED Talks, the ever-popular way of sharing personal stories for only 18 minutes of monologue. We do this because we want to hear your stories, and we can best do that by sharing our stories. Our goal is not necessarily to teach you anything new, as you are already an expert in your field. Our goal is to perhaps motivate you to try something new in your approach to helping your students succeed. Our storytelling approach is geared to not take a lot of your time, but rather to simply set the stage for an interactive conversation that we will have after our story, and perhaps encourage you to encourage your students in some new way. As I mentioned in the beginning of our time today, we want to do a shout out. Our 2023 Ed Talk series, Reflection and Extension, is inspired by the principles and work of Dr. Newton Miller II and his book, Why Some Seeds Don't Grow. At the end of our Ed Talk today, we look forward to hearing your story of what you will do or are already doing in your classroom or educational setting. After Dr. Gonzalez's story, we will invite all participants to share your reflection and practices. So with that said, audience members, if you could please hold your comments and chat until the end as we listen to Lauren's story. Lauren, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Jessie. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm so appreciative that you are choosing to spend your time to be here to listen to the story I'm going to tell you. And as you listen, I would ask that you please consider these 3 questions. What are you going to do with all those pretty pink bows? Do you see your students and their potential? How do you meet them where they are and support? Again, thank you for giving some of your time today to listen to this story. There once was a girl who grew up with spoils and riches, treated like a princess, granted all her materialistic wishes. Her queen mother gave her everything she wanted, and if it were pink, boy, was it flaunted. Barbies and gym dolls were bought, even wrapped. She was a kid in the 80s, wouldn't you have asked? Shopping sprees and trips to buy pink clothes and lots of toys, patches and popples and Ken doll boys, trips to Disney World, Mexico, and more. New Kids on the Block, TLC, and George Strait. Oh, the concerts the Queen Mother did take. Makeup, clothes, jewelry, and shoes. You want to play a sport, little princess? You choose. Books, oh, how she loved books. And when the Scholastic Book Fair came, the little girl was the talk of the town, as Queen Mother demanded her little princess have every book in the town and all around. The little girl, with her nice clothes and pretty pink bows, went to school each day on a pink huffy bike and with a lunch in a lunchbox with Care Bears on it that she very much did like. But what else? What else, you may ask? What else was provided to that little princess? Both Queen Mother and Queen Father had obtained a college degree, and even King Grandfather, a doctor of EDD. They read to her daily and cooked 3-course meals. They went to ballet and gym class jubilee. They all even watched her show horses and win a trophy. Her teachers, oh my. They just loved the little girl with her nice clothes and pretty pink bows. And they loved the Queen Mother. Should you ask why? Well, that Queen Mother, she helped in the school. She helped, I say. She helped cut letters, and the struggling students she did play. She went on field trips and was even the room mom. And oh, how the teachers, they loved that Queen Mom. And that little girl too, that little girl with her nice clothes and pretty pink bows. They loved the gifts the mother did bring. They loved the little girl as trouble she never did ring. She was quiet and listened and followed every rule. She had manners and a smile that would make anyone drool. Well, would you believe it was all a facade? Would you believe it was all for an applaud? The pretty pink bows and curls of gold, the dance classes, cheer camps, and Girl Scout cookies sold. Would you believe that that little girl with her pretty pink bows and nice clothes went to school each day with nothing but woes? She went to school each day and did nothing but struggle. She went to school each day and it caused her nothing but trouble. She could not write cursive. Math, oh, was it hard. Ask her to take a test. Boy, did she bomb. So why did she struggle? Oh, why was it so? Was it a learning disability? Oh, no. Was it paying attention? Oh, no, not one bit. It was quite the opposite. In fact, the princess, as cute as can be, that princess had quite the ability. She loved to read and loved to write. She had a memory that was out of sight. So then what? She had a nice house. She had nice cars. She had nice clothes, good food, and pretty pink bows. Why didn't they see? Oh, why didn't they see that there was more going on with that little girl than her nice clothes and pretty pink bows? There was more going on than the gifts her mother did bring. There was more going on than the teachers did see. Well, just like a seed, you can plant it in the very best soil. You can give it the cleanest water with nutrients as rich as oil. You can provide lots of sun rays. You can even help it give warm temperature for days. But like many of you probably know, some seeds may not grow. For some seeds might need a little extra care. For some seeds might need more than just a stare. For example, you may live in the most beautiful castle in all the land. You may have clothes and shoes and pretty pink bows. You may have silk and rubies and diamonds and rose. But what if in the castle trouble lurks? What if in the castle there are nothing but quirks? What if Step King Father liked to sip whiskey and vodka and wine? Even marijuana, pills, and other drugs were fine. And what if Queen Mother liked to go out late at night with strangers and dine? And what if each night a royal rumble did happen? The hits, the screams, the cuts, even a bite, the bruises, the scratches, and the chokes, oh so tight. And what if she went to bed crying each night? A slap, a punch, and a regretful fight. A stab, a push, even a blow to the face. What if the police did come, but there was not even a trace? What if each day she went to school and did not know if Step King Father would leave like a fool, or would he come home and put on a show? What if Queen Mother spent all of their money that week buying clothes and shoes, but for food the money was quite meek? And what if this angered Step King Father each day? What if it caused him much dismay? So the princess, she struggled. She struggled each day. She struggled at school with math and science and artistic plays. She struggled with writing and music and spelling and all the words in different ways. But they did not see. They did not see her. They saw the nice cars and nice clothes and pretty pink bows. So when she stopped turning in assignments and passing tests, they cannot see the true reasons why. They cannot see the real little princess. So what is the point of this tale? What is the point of it, you might ask? Is it true or is it a mask? Well, the point is to help you see your students and meet them where they can be. Do you see your students or do you see the F? Do you see the missing assignment in the course? Or do you see the girl who is struggling because she is in the Air Force? Do you see the late discussion post? Or do you see the student who has lost their home and is scared more than most? Do you see the missing cited source? Or do you see the student who has lost a loved one and is experiencing remorse? Do you see? Do you see? Her teachers did not see. They did not see the little girl. They only saw the nice clothes and pretty pink bows and nice cars and nice gifts. Because they did not see, they let her fall. She fell through the crack. She continued to struggle and could not come back. They did not see, so they did not know that that little girl, the one with the nice clothes and pretty pink bows, They did not see that she needed special attention. She needed special support. She could not meet their expectations of completing her homework. She could not meet their expectations of studying for a test. She could not meet their expectations because at home, her parents never let her rest. There was anger and sadness and even fear. There was no time to complete that math project she held so dear. For she was worried about her mother and stepfather. Would they get along, or would they even bother? She was concerned about what would happen each night and whether there would be a fight. So the little girl with her nice clothes and pretty pink bows did not do her homework and failed her tests. But her teachers did not see. All they could see were the zeros and not her woes. But what? What, may you ask? What could the teachers have done to help that little princess? For they treated her like all the other children of the land, for they held her to the same expectations at hand. But that is not what the little girl needed with her nice clothes and pretty pink bows. She needed to be treated differently. She needed to be treated with extra care. She needed extra time to complete homework. She needed a quiet place to study for tests. She needed someone to help her even get rest. That little princess, as cute as could be, needed a teacher who truly did see. She needed a teacher that saw more than just those missing assignments. She needed a teacher that understood. She needed a teacher who knew without being fooled, that the little girl could learn with extra support. She needed a teacher who helped her be schooled. So think about a seed, and when you planted it, did you give it food? Did you give it light? Did you try to help it grow with all of your might? And what if that seed did not grow? What if you continue to hold it to the expectation of all the other plants? When waiting for the seed to grow, what if you did not see? What if you did not see that deep down in the soil? What if you did not see that fungus and mold were starting to toil? And because you did not see, you held your expectations firmly. And what if the seed never did grow? What would you do? Would you change what you know? Would you change the environment? What would you do? I am not here to tell you what is right and what is wrong. I'm here to tell you that, like a seed, that little girl needed someone to see, that she was not growing like everyone else could be. She needed different. She needed support. She needed help and to not be ignored. She needed help studying for math. She needed help through the science path. For there was no one at home who helped the little girl. There was nothing but fighting and more. So maybe, just maybe, as you listen to this tale, it will help you see that some of those expectations that are set, they set some students up to fail. Maybe those expectations you hold for students are different. Maybe they are truly what the student needs. Maybe not at all. But if so, what would they be? What would they be? Should those teachers have expected her to complete her homework? Should they have expected her to study for a test? What do you think? Should your student in the National Guard called out for duty be expected to complete the discussion post that week? Should your student who has experienced spousal abuse have to take a learning activity when they have sat at a police station all day in the city? What do you think? Is it work? A second wink? And what? And what would they be? What would your expectations be for that little princess in her nice clothes and pretty pink bows? What would they be for that princess in all of her woes? So let me ask you again once more. Do you see the late assignment? Or do you see the student whose father is in solitary confinement? Do you see extension request after request? Or do you see the student who is working 2 jobs and needs a rest? Do you see email after email? Or do you see the student who was in school 20 years before? Do you see them? Do you care? Do you support them? Or do you just sigh and glare? What do you see? Do you see your students? Or do you just let them be? So I say, meet them where they are so they can go far. See them for who they are so they can reach their full potential. Just like Jackie Kiger said in his ED Talk that was extremely monumental. And if you need a little help, well, let me tell you everyone. Let me tell you all. Dr. Newton Miller can help. He knows the rules. You set high expectations, you scaffold, and set to meet students where they are so they have the right tools. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this story. Back to you, Jessie.
Lauren, I'm going to take a few breaths and let our audience do the same as your spoken word poem processes. I want to thank you for your vulnerability of sharing through this medium that things are not always as they appear, and that our approach to expectations and differentiation considers things that we see or may not see, things we know or may not know. And as emotional as that was for me to hear some of the themes in Lauren's poem, if you're like me, this was not the first time one or more of those examples has come from a student through your email, your text, a phone call, or in course discussions. I really wish that I could say it was, but it's not. In fact, I got one this week, and it likely won't be the last. For those of you here today, as we open up the chat lines to consider your takeaways from Lauren's story, let's frame our discussion. What are you currently doing in your practice to support student success? And what are you inspired to do next? Through the lens of sowing seeds, our series this year aligns with 2 critical goals from UAGC: retain students, especially in their first year of enrollment, and support completion of programs and educational goals driven by student-based timelines. Consider how these questions from Dr. Gonzalez that are on the screen bring to mind what you are doing in your classroom or what you might do next. For me, the themes of this year's series brought to mind some terms our Dean Dr. Tony Farrell has framed for this year in UAGC's College of Arts and Sciences, thinking of our lens and vision through 5 C's: culture, change, collaboration, care, and celebration. So I'll read the questions on the screen for those of you that aren't able to see them. What are you going to do with all those pretty pink bows? Do you see your students and their potential? And how do you meet them where they are and support? Everyone, if you can please start sharing your impressions. I see some coming through on the chat already, your ideas and perhaps your new approach in the chat. Please do be sure your chat is set to everyone. And we would also like to hear from you. To share using audio, simply raise your hand using the hand icon on the bottom of your screen, and you'll be given the opportunity to unmute your microphone and share your story or reflection that way. We invite you to join the conversation now to inspire others with your story. I'm reading through the chat now, Lauren. We're seeing many things come in response to your talk. Some people who have loved ones that can relate to your story. Jackie, go ahead.
Hey, Lauren. I wish I could take what you've said here and go post an announcement that is absolutely applicable to answering everything that you've suggested through the art of poem, but I can't. So my takeaway from what you've given us today is simply, how about we believe our students? How about we start there? When they share with us, we believe them. Thank you.
I'm seeing Debbie Carpenter's mentioning in the chat here, it's timely. Just had a student this very moment who's reached out for an extension, and that your response has really affected the way in which she's responding to that particular situation. Dr. Miller shares with us, I can choose to put on my glasses so I can see. Thank you for the reminder, Lauren. We have a share from Ray Fullard, keep an open mind. You were once in their shoes and experienced and struggled. So reminders to put ourselves in that place of empathy as we're approaching scaffolding and helping to support our high expectations, making sure students have what they need to get there. A lot of accolades here, Lauren, in response to your spoken word poem has really inspired quite a few of our listeners.
Thank you.
Michelle Simichek shares, feels like we are really relying more on what the students tell us, since we cannot read the physical signs. Since we're here in a remote environment, we tend to wait for them to reach out. However, we may need to reach out, and more than once, for students who cannot speak up or don't feel comfortable speaking up. And Michelle, I think that really speaks to, not see, it may not be as it appears. Clifford, I see your hand.
Yes, I'm thinking in particular about those students that may respond to us in ways that seem abrasive or negative. And that's really where the challenge comes, to see past what that is, to say what could it be in their lives that could be bringing them to the edge. There are so many of our students that are living on the razor's edge, and we never know what's going to be that additional point of stress. So that is where I find myself most challenged, is how can I approach this email from a student with an open mind? This, hey, you, how can I approach it with an open mind? What can I give the student to help them and support them when they're responding in a way that seems almost lashing out or negative? And that is really, I think, one of the true tests of being able to not judge a student, but to think about what is their story and recognize humbly that we don't know.
Thank you. Sorry, I muted myself. Thank you, Clifford, and for sharing that perspective of really not taking what you see personally, and really getting to the bottom of the situation while you support. Thank you. Tarika Haynes shares in the chat, being an online adult learner in the past helps to see things from their perspective. And I think that's important too, for those of us who use the experiences that we have, some positive, some negative, to help us do better in ways to support students. It doesn't have to be the same experience. The outcomes of student success are at the center. Seeing lots of comments on extensions and grace and additional explanations, and all of these things are principles that come out of Dr. Miller's book, and we all know as educators in the higher ed environment, they're supported in best practice as well. You see Teresa Handy sharing, it's important not to assume their late work is intentional. And I think that has a lot of impact about it, as well as when you're trying to support and differentiate and provide those supports to meet the expectations of the course, not assuming intent. That really comes in there. And Dr. Miller, you said it better than I said earlier. Newton Miller shares minimize the conversation around systemic and traditional expectations and maximize the conversation around what we can do to help them succeed. Susan Hughes shares letting students know that she's there, checking emails 7 days a week and enjoying helping, being there to listen. She sees an impact of how that has helped her students, and working with them on late work seems to really make a big difference. So that's anecdotal data we need to carry with us as we're adjusting the supports we put in place. Our Dean, Dr. Tony Farrell, shares in the chat the impact that a caring faculty member may not be seen immediately. However, you may be the difference for that student in completing their degree. And how impactful is that? So many great resources and things shared here. Nicola Lucas shares using signals regularly to contact struggling students, finding that they're both surprised and so grateful for that reach out. It gives that motivation and that way to reach out to our students and really find out how we can best support them. And Christopher Tex is building on what was said earlier, learning that students are not lashing out personally to the instructor has helped put things into perspective when working with students that need extensions. I really want to thank everyone for sharing in Lauren's story today and sharing what you're doing in your classroom and what you're doing next. I think this has been an amazing way to share the practices that we're doing and pause and reflect on the ways we can truly meet students where they are, provide that scaffolding to support what they need, keep our expectations high, but know that they're not out there on their own. We're there to help them the entire way until they're ready to meet those expectations. As I said, so many great things shared, but all good things must come to an end. We are going to go ahead and move forward, but before you leave, please stick with us for just a minute longer. You can find series recordings and certificates at the link provided in the chat, as well as a few links to Dr. Miller's book, should you want to investigate all this great material a little bit further. If you are not here live with us, you can also find that link in your registration for today's meeting. We do want to acknowledge the work of Dr. Newton Miller of UADC for inspiring this series. Consider finding yourself a copy of Why Some Seeds Don't Grow and mark your calendars for the second Thursday of most months from now until October, same time, same place, to continue our series and discussion. And next up, please do come back and see us for our session on May 11th as Dr. Michelle Simachek shares her story. Don't be afraid to use fertilizer and pesticides. Next slide, please. We thank you for joining us today, and a huge thank you again to Dr. Lauren Gonzalez for sharing with us today to inspire our next steps in supporting our students and each other. On behalf of Assistant Dean Dr. Denise Maxwell and UADC's College of Arts and Sciences Department of Education and Liberal Arts, we wish you a safe, healthy, and impactful April, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.